According to Cycle World, Honda is about to release a new 350cc adventure bike based on the CB350, which is not available in North America. And that bike looks suspiciously like a Royal Enfield Himalayan, in the drawings anyways. One wonders why Honda would build such a bike since it already has the most extensive lineup of adventure motorcycles on the planet. Perhaps it's a lower cost, lower seat alternative to the CRF300L Rally, a bike near and dear to my heart. Whatever the plans are for the new 350, Honda's current lineup consists of 6 adventure motorcycles designed to meet a wide variety of adventure riders' needs, and I've ridden all of them and owned one. So, if you've got adventure in your heart and reliability on your mind, this is the video for you, because in it I'll run down the list of current Honda models and give you the lowdown on which one will serve your needs best for the kind of riding you want to do in your price range. And it's not just a matter of choosing the most expensive one you can afford, because there are really compelling reasons for choosing the less expensive ones in some cases. So stay tuned, and as always, if you're finding this content valuable, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it with friends. On the heavyweight side of adventure motorcycles, Honda has 2 versions of its Africa Twin 1100, with the bigger one, the Africa Twin Adventure Sports, receiving a major revamp for 2024. Now, I've reviewed the last Adventure Sports, an automatic DCT version, for a couple of weeks 2 years ago. Check out that video in the top right corner, but this one is much changed. The biggest difference is the smaller 19-inch front wheel and shorter 8.3 front and 7.9-inch rear suspension, still electronically adjustable. These changes make this 550-pound motorcycle more accessible to smaller riders, as the seat is much lower than the previous model. Get this! With a low seat option installed in the lower position, this motorcycle has the lowest seat height of any Honda adventure bike, maybe any adventure bike period. A measly 31.3 inches, lower than most naked bikes. Additionally, it has a large 25-liter fuel tank and is extremely fuel efficient. 600 kilometers or 370 miles is not out of the question. The 19-inch front wheel should make the Adventure Sports a bit easier to transition from side to side, and although the new model still has 100 horsepower, torque is up to 83 pound-feet from 77, which should make the acceleration and roll-on a bit peppier. The Africa Twin Adventure Sports is down on power compared to other big ADV bikes, but unless you want to drag race sport bikes, 100 horsepower is plenty for fully loaded 2-up touring. My wife Brooke found the back seat of the previous model very roomy and comfortable, and from the looks of it, the seat hasn't changed. This bike also comes with a fully modern electronics suite, including off-road mode to tame those 100 horses on dirt. Realistically, with a smaller front wheel, less suspension travel, and less ground clearance, it's going to be less capable off-road, especially in the tight stuff. The previous model was very good on ATV trails, but felt like an elephant in a china shop on single track. And it was taller and had a 21-inch front wheel. However, this bike is aimed at the long-distance touring rider who will tackle some dirt and gravel here and there, and in those capacities, it's great. Its reliability and huge range will make it a great touring companion, but you'd better like that DCT automatic, because that's all Honda offers now. The manual Adventure Sports is no more. Now, Honda has started providing its MSRP with destination costs, and in Canada, the all-in price, including freight and PDI, will be $22,313. In the States, the price is not listed yet, but expected to be over $18,000. If you want more off-road performance, lighter weight, and a manual option, then you'll be wanting the standard Africa Twin, which retains its 21-inch front wheel and 9-ish inches of suspension travel. This bike has the same engine and electronics as the Adventure Sports at a much lower weight, which starts at 505 pounds. It does now offer the electronically adjustable suspension, and the automatic transmission is available only on bikes with that suspension. Those options, however, will add weight to this motorcycle. This model is for riders who want good road performance but want to tackle harsher terrain. Handling is decent, although on pavement the 21-inch front wheel can feel a bit vague in corners. This version of the Africa Twin does have a smaller 19-liter tank. In the US, the standard Africa Twin costs $14,500 plus $775 freight and destination. And in Canada, it'll cost you $18,500 all in. The 2024 model also gets a taller adjustable windshield, which I'm happy about as it keeps the bugs off my face shield. Slightly smaller than the standard Africa Twin is the new Transalp, a 750cc, 90 horsepower, 55 pound-feet of torque mid-sized twin that could be all the motorcycle you will ever need. I reviewed this one over a week this past summer. Check out that video in the top right corner. Truthfully, this bike does everything the Africa Twin does at a lower price, $10K US plus 600 freight or 13.5 Canadian. It's not as comfortable as the Adventure Sports and not as good off-road as the standard Africa Twin, but it made it down the single track fine, cruises the highway well, has great weather protection, is plenty roomy for 2-up touring, is fast, this engine is awesome, and handles really well in the twists. It makes a great sports tourer. Besides that, it has the rider modes and electronics to keep you safe. It's got less suspension travel than the Africa Twin at 7.9 inches front and 7.5 rear, and that suspension isn't super adjustable, but it will get you where you need to go, just slower. Just about its only weakness is the lack of cruise control, which is widely lamented by touring adventure riders, but at this price you can't have it all. I really enjoyed my time on this bike. A lot of riders have noticed that the Transalp looks like the old CB500X, and I say old because the CB got a glow up with bold new styling and a new name, the NX500. Most of the changes are cosmetic as the new bike's parallel twin still makes the same 47 horsepower and 32 pound-feet of torque as the CB. This is the biggest of the class of small adventure motorcycles, though at 471cc and 432 pounds wet, small is a relative term. It does handle curves well, as I found out riding the old CB500X a while back. The NX500 is a perfect example of everything you need with no frills. No rider modes, it doesn't need them. The 47 horsepower isn't going to rip your arms out of their sockets, but it's plenty to cruise the highway all day, even 2-up. You could tour around the world on this no problem, and it will do decently off-road, though the suspension travel is on the shorter side, 5.9 inches front and 5.3 rear. Like the Adventure Sports, this is mostly a pavement bike with gravel and light dirt capability, though the aftermarket can make it into a mean off-roader. And at just over 8K US or 9.5 Canadian, this motorcycle proves that you don't need to spend an arm and a leg to go adventuring. And so we get to my wife Brooke's old bike, the CRF300L Rally. By far and away the best off-road adventure bike in Honda's lineup and among the best of any manufacturer. I have a playlist on this bike on my channel, so check that out if you want the full story. This bike is light, 337 pounds wet, it has the tallest suspension, 9 to 10 inches of travel, most ground clearance, and by far the tallest seat, 35.2 inches. Though when you sit on it, the suspension compresses down quite a bit. And all of that only costs 8,600 Canadian and about 7,000 US, a lot less than the Africa Twin. Now if you join your friends on Africa Twins for a paved ride on this thing, you probably won't keep up. This bike's 286cc single-cylinder engine only makes 27 horsepower and 20 pound-feet of torque. This is enough to cruise at highway speeds and not much more. 2-up, this bike slows down even more, and the tall suspension and big wheels make it only okay handling on pavement. Get onto the trail, however, and suddenly you're dusting all of those Africa Twins and most other big adventure bikes as well. You're soaking up the bumps and rolling over logs and rocks with all of that clearance. This is basically a dual sport with a large tank and fairing, and it is capable of dual sport level trail riding. I wouldn't jump it, the stock suspension is too soft, but it will get you where you want to go. On single track, this is the Honda ADV you want, and on the faster highways, it's a lot more comfy than a dual sport because the fairing provides decent wind protection and the seat is surprisingly well made. It's not super suited to paved travel, but can do that as well, and if your adventure riding skews toward the dirt, this is the adventure bike for you. If you're shorter, either lower it like we did for Brooke, or look elsewhere. And there's one more adventure bike that Honda sells in the North American market, and it is my wife Brooke's favorite. The Trail 125 is definitely no highway bike with its single-cylinder 124cc engine, putting out just under 10 horsepower and 8 pound-feet of torque. but it will get close to 55 miles per hour or 90 kilometers per hour. It has a 4-speed semi-automatic clutchless transmission, limited suspension travel with 4.3 inches front and 3.4 rear, and a 1.4 gallon or 5.3 liter fuel tank, and a whole lot of personality. And it costs $4.5K US and 5,675 Canadian including freight. Check out my extensive review of this bike in the top right corner. No, this is not the bike you will want to ride across the country, and no, you will not be keeping up with traffic on the faster roads, especially uphill. But there are things this bike does better than any other Honda ADV. It manages to cost the least, weigh the least, 256 pounds, is the easiest to ride and handle at any speed, and it has the biggest luggage rack. It makes a great runabout in the city or country, can be used as a commuter, farm, or work bike, and could be taken to the outback on a camping trip no problem. It'll do ATV trails and even single track as long as you take it slow, and it looks super cool. So of the 6 adventure bikes I've mentioned, the Africa Twin Adventure Sports is the best for long pavement trips. The regular Africa Twin is almost as good and has the second best off-road chops of all these bikes. The Transalp and NX500 do most of what the Africa Twins do almost as well for a lot less money and with less weight. The CRF300L Rally is the best off-road by far, and the Trail 125 is the least expensive, cutest, and easiest to ride and push around. Now, I didn't include the ADV 150 because it's an adventure scooter, not an adventure motorcycle, and it's also one that I haven't ridden. Also, the NC750X is a pavement motorcycle with its 17-inch front wheel, and the XR650L and CRF450L are big dual sports rather than adventure bikes, so they don't make the list either. Which bike you choose will depend on your budget and style of riding. If I was spending my money on a Honda ADV, I'd be going with the standard Africa Twin, no DCT automatic transmission or electronically adjustable suspension. It's just the best performance for your buck with good off-road ability to boot. And Brooke would go for the Trail 125 for its lightweight and ease of use. But what do you think? Is the introduction of the less expensive Transalp going to steal away some Africa Twin sales as these bikes are close in size and performance? In fact, the Transalp probably handles better on a twisty road. Which bike would best suit your adventuring needs? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Ride safe, and may the spokes be with you.